Is it true that this is episode 205? That can't be right. Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room. I am your host, Mistress Carrie. Welcome to episode 205. And welcome to the actual war room where the bar is in my house and where I stockpile and collect all of the cool military memorabilia and stuff that I have been gifted by family members, collected over my trips myself overseas, and also been gifted by so many of our veterans that have sent me some pretty weird things. It's all collected right here. And, this is the 205th time that we've gotten together either here in the war room or on deployment somewhere else. Sometimes we like to frequent drinking establishments. So thank you for joining me here in the War Room. If you're new, allow us all, the War Room family, to welcome you properly. Let us know in the comments that this is your first War Room, and you also got to let us know where you're watching from. And if you're new to the War Room, then you may or may not be aware of the pillow killer that is circling around. Come over here. Over here, Wednesday. Do you want your treats? Then you got to come over here. Yeah, you got to come over here and say hi to everyone. If you're new to the War Room, this ball of energy that just totally screwed up her harness and is not even wearing it right anymore. This is Wednesday. She's my co-host. Come here. Do you want me to fix your harness? Come here. Come here. Let me fix it. There you go. There you go. Wednesday has been by my side through pretty much all of the episodes. And she is the pillow killer in the war room because, the pillows on the couch, they don't last very long when Wednesday's around. I want to say what's up to Shannon. Hey, Keith. Elsa's joining us. Donna's here. Melissa. The pillow killer. Yeah, exactly. Trish is here. Steven is here. Jonathan, Eric joining us. All right, you want to show everybody your tricks? Back up a little bit. Can I have your paw? No, sit up. She got all the tricks confused. She's too excited. Hey, back up. Sit down. Paw. Other paw. Thank you. Jessica's here. Wednesday, your co-host, is so stinking cute. Yeah, she is until all the pillows on the couch are on the floor, and then she's clawing at me because she wants more cookies. Let's see. What's up, producer Mike? He says cheers. Cheers to you guys. Dug back out the copper mug. That means a little Moscow Mule action tonight. I wanted something really cold in here because I have yet to turn the heat on in the house. It's October 18th. I really try not to turn the heat on in the house until at least November 1st. But when it's cold and rainy like it has been, I do light the wood stove. And there is a wood stove here in the war room. It's not a very big stove, but it is so efficient and it gets so hot, and the wood stove is lit right now in here. And so as my mother would say, I'm sweating like a whore in church. That's my mother's phrase, not mine. What's up, Betty? Will is here. David said, tuning in. Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone had a wonderful week. So far, so good. Hey, War Room. I'll be a little late tonight. Elsa Michelle. I'm going to be here till 8:45 looking for a Mexican League winter baseball game to listen to. Stay sweet, Mistress Carrie. Aw. Mexican League baseball is fantastic baseball, by the way. Let's see. How did Wednesday do with your mom? Carol wants to know. So want to fill you guys in on some of the stuff that's been going on. So last week was my mom's birthday. It was her 70th birthday. And since everything happened with my mom, and since she ended up having to be placed in a facility because her Alzheimer's has progressed so rapidly, she hasn't seen Wednesday. So she hasn't seen her for a few months. So I had been telling Wednesday all week last week that I had a surprise for her, that we were going to go visit Grammy. Wednesday and I went on a little road trip, and we went and visited Grammy. Did you hear me say the Grammy word? Yes. Strangely enough, Mom, it was very strange how Mom reacted to Wednesday being there. On one hand, she had no idea who she was. And on the other hand, it was like she saw her 5 minutes ago and it wasn't that big of a deal. Now, for a while, Mom hasn't remembered Wednesday's name. So she called her everything from her little booger or booga, I should say. She called her little puka too. And so at one point during the visit, she was like, how's my little puka? And my sister and I were like, one thing that was really weird. So we got cupcakes for the birthday instead of like a cake. Come over here Wednesday. Do you want more cookie? You have to come over here. I set up a camera for you. You have to be on the camera if you want the cookies. Come over here. Back up. Down. Good girl. And so we got cupcakes instead. And so we got some vanilla cupcakes because obviously Wednesday can't have chocolate. And so every time I broke a little piece of vanilla cupcake off from my mom to give to Wednesday, my mom ate it, which was really, really strange. So I had to teach my mom how to walk Wednesday on a leash. Wednesday was allowed inside the facility. The place where my mom is at, we're allowed to visit 24 hours a day. And as long as I can prove vaccination for the dog can come anytime she wants to visit. So I had to teach mom how to walk Wednesday on a leash, which was a little bit strange. But we were able to go outside in the gardens for a while. It was kind of yucky when we were there. Mom is a tiny lady, so she gets cold pretty easily. And so she didn't want to spend a lot of time outside. But the visit was really nice. We took some really cute pictures. We sang happy birthday. A lot of my mom's friends where she is were super excited to meet Wednesday. And so my mom was very proud to be able to show off the dog, even though she didn't quite remember everything about her, which is kind of weird. But mom is doing well, and we had a really nice birthday. So thank you guys for asking. Lots of stuff to catch you guys up on just over the last week. So the first thing I want to remind you guys about is that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. October, obviously, starts with my birthday, ends with the best day of the year, Halloween, and in between is also my birthday. And so just want to remind you, the purpose for Breast Cancer Awareness Month is really to bug the shit out of everyone that needs to go get checked out, whether you're a man and maybe breast cancer runs in your family as well. There are men that do get it. And so make an appointment to go and see the doctor. Ladies, get those mammograms. If you have to have one annually and you haven't made the appointment yet, make it. I had mine right before my birthday, got the results. Everything's good. Very excited. So Mark says, watching the Bruins and the War Room up in New Hampshire. That's fantastic. Fantastic. Diva said, blessings to your mom. Thank you very much. Does Wednesday enjoy her belly rubs? Jessica wants to know. You think? I don't know if she'll let me do it because she wants cookies, but back up a little bit, Wednesday. Normally she'll sit in my lap like a baby and just let me rub her belly all the time. But right now she's hyper fixated because she wants treats, right? Do you want the treats? Okay, sit down. Let me boop your nose. Boop. Can I boop your nose again? Boop. Can I boop your nose one more time? Boop. Okay, you can have a cookie for the booping. Diva wants to know if I'm going to make pink t-shirts. So I had thought about doing that. And one of the things that has kind of happened is there has been a backlash with a lot of the pink memorabilia. So for any guy that doesn't know, there's something called the pink tax, where the equivalent male product is cheaper than the female product, and they make it pink, and then it becomes more expensive. Things like razors, just anything. They make a woman's version, and they turn it pink, and then they charge 50 cents more for it. So it's kind of called the pink tax. And there are also a lot of organizations that make pink stuff and then donate very little to breast cancer charities for research or advocacy for people battling or, people that are trying to help ease the burden of the family of someone who is battling cancer. So I've gone back and forth because there's a little bit of a backlash against pink things. So that's part of the reason why I have not made Mistress Carrie pink breast cancer awareness t-shirts, but it is something that I have thought about and maybe something that I would consider doing next year if I partnered with a reputable organization or something to do that. I've had a lot of conversations with the backstage pass holders specifically. And one of the things that I've been very careful about is, can I help you? Do you want to come sit on my lap? Or do you just want me to keep your camera on? One of the things that I have talked to the backstage pass holders about at length is trying to grow slowly, because I don't ever want to overpromise and underdeliver. And the last few months with everything with mom and the radio shows and just everything going on, just trying to maintain family and personal life and business, obviously grow the business. I have a lot of plans, a lot of things that I thought I would have been able to accomplish by the end of this year. And for a multitude of reasons, they are still on the to-do list. And part of it is because I didn't want to do it half-assed. I can give you guys a little bit of an update that the next phase of making it easier to listen on your Alexa devices, the podcast I'm talking about, is coming. I've been working with a company to make that a little more streamlined and a little more easy. And that is in the development phase right now, and we're getting ready to go into the testing phase. My hope is that by the holidays, when people are getting new Alexa devices, that it is going to be extremely easy to be able to listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast on your smart speakers. So that has been something that I've been working on behind the scenes. But it's why we haven't announced more plans for more volunteer and charity work. Because I've been doing a lot of shifts on Westwood One on the weekends, and I don't want to schedule something and have to back out of it. I don't want to not be able to show up and not be able to cancel, and then I can't be there. So there's been a lot of things going on behind the scenes, and all I can tell you is that provided that I am able to catch up, which is where I'm at right now, playing catch up, since I'm not taking care of my mom 24 hours a day, 7 days a week anymore. I have a lot of plans and a lot of ideas for 2023, and I'm hoping that I'm going to be able to accomplish a lot of these goals I set for myself, but I'm going to do things slowly and methodically because, like I said, I don't want to screw things up. I don't want to overpromise and underdeliver. I hate canceling on things. Just over the last couple of weeks, I had to cancel on a couple of events that I was supposed to be at because I got called into work, and I hate doing that kind of stuff. And I also want to make sure that I am paying just as close attention to my own health and well-being, both mental health and physical health, and to make sure that I'm prioritizing that and able to get some rest as well. Let's see. No problem, Michelle, being late. Eric says, hoping people can listen via telephone through long distance area code like 617 or 413. Wait, are you talking about the podcast? Are you being a smart ass? You need a staff to help you out, says Mr. Cole. Well, that is something that, I've thought a lot about and is part of the growing process. That I'm not ready to take that step yet, but is something that I have definitely. Wednesday, you going to come over here? Come over here. I have more cookie for you if you come over here. Come on, over here. Come back over here and lay down. Down. Good girl. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot that is changing in the industry. There's a lot that could change with my own career and in the business in general. And with the economy and working in an industry that's relying on advertising, a lot of things could change in the next 6 to 9 months. So there's a lot of things that are up in the air. But trust me when I say that there are a lot of ideas and a lot of things that I am working on. And so we'll see what happens. So I'm talking via the podcast, says Eric. So you can listen to the podcast anywhere, smart ass. But to be able to listen on smart speakers is something that I have not been able to get to work properly. And that is a huge focus for me. So for sure, working on that. So to get back on track, breasts. We love them. We need to take care of them. They're important. End of speech. All right, let's talk about cocktail recipes, shall we? I thought I would dig into a different cocktail book this week because, like I told you, I have basically a cocktail library here in the War Room, which I love. So I have this Cocktail Classics by David Biggs, and I thought this one was pretty hilarious, even though it has gin in it. Not a fan of the gin, you know that, but it's called a Chihuahua Bite, and so I kind of thought it was a hilarious name. The Chihuahua Bite, like the famous miniature Mexican dog, the drink may be petite, but certainly is lively, according to the drink description. You need ice cubes, 3 parts London dry gin, 1 part Calvados, 1 part lime juice cordial, and a twist of lemon rind. It says place 3 cubes in a cocktail shaker, add the gin, the Calvados, and the lime juice cordial. Shake well, strain into a cocktail glass, twist the lemon rind over it, and then drop into the glass as a garnish. So it's basically kind of like a gin martini, except for the Calvados and a little bit of the lemon. Like I said, I'm not really a big gin fan, but the fact that it's named the Chihuahua Bite is kind of what got me. So if you're a gin lover, if you like it with a little lemon, you like it with a little extra kick, the Chihuahua Bite. Not really sure how to garnish that one, though. When it's something like gin, which I don't like anyway, it's hard for me to come up with garnish ideas. But I really like the idea that we had talked about with the mint Milano cookies back in the day. The idea of garnishing with cookies of any kind. And I thought maybe something lemony, like one of those lemon, like frosted drop cookies that you can get around the holidays, I thought would be really good. But basically any kind of lemon cookie, I thought getting that on the side might be nice. Let's see. Yuck gin, says Kathy. Yeah, exactly. Sean says, after Iron Maiden, there was even a plane crash at the show last night. Okay, Sean. So first of all, got a new shirt to add to the collection. Second of all, if you missed the Iron Maiden show at the DCU Center last night, which was completely sold out, if you go on my Twitter feed, the DCU Center actually got a cake for the guys from Iron Maiden to celebrate the sellout last night. And Iron Maiden played Aces High as the encore last night. And if you haven't seen the tour, they've got this big, giant, inflatable Spitfire that's supposed to come out, and it inflates, and the propeller spins, and it zooms over the band, and it's really cool. So the Spitfire didn't fully inflate last night, and it was kind of like a sad plane, and at one point, one of the wings kind of dipped down and kind of hit Nico McBrain's drum set. And then the Iron Maiden road crew, some of these guys have been with the band for like 20, 30 years, had to come running up on the stage and like ball up the deflating plane and roll it up. And Bruce Dickinson made a joke about it at the end, which was kind of hilarious. He's a very quick-witted and very dry-witted individual. But the show was fantastic. The band sounded so good. I talked to my friends. I went with some of my oldest and dearest friends last night, and we were talking about the show afterwards. First of all, Bruce Dickinson's voice sounds better than ever. I don't understand. The guy's 64 years old and had like mouth cancer, right? Or was it throat cancer? Either way, he's a cancer survivor, and he has no business sounding as good as he does. And also, Nico McBrain's drum set always sounds amazing, and it sounded unbelievable again last night. Melissa says, great. Now I want cookies. Thanks, MC. Cookies are delicious, Melissa. What do you want me to tell you? Alexis says, we have 2 Chihuahua mixes. Both of them are crazy as well. Yeah. Jessica says they always sound good, and they did last night. They were unbelievable. This is the last week of North American dates of their tour. They've already announced dates for Europe next year, including a massive show in London that has already gone on sale. Christina says, your skin is beautiful. What do you use? Nothing all that spectacular. Lotion. I'm not one of those people that has like a 12-step skin regimen with like, I probably should. I do wear sunscreen. I try really hard not to wear my makeup all the time if I don't have to. Days where I'm just on the air and I'm not doing interviews or whatever, I like to let my skin rest. And it's not hydration because I am always dehydrated. I do try to stay out of the sun, which is a huge thing. My mom was always the person that was like baby oil on, laying in the sun. How the woman didn't get skin cancer, I'll never know. But she definitely battled the effects of aging because she never took care of her skin. And so I always wanted to make sure that I tried to take care of my skin the best I could. So thank you for the compliment, but I have no idea. I don't really use any kind of fancy skin products or lotions or anything. So Michael Lavoie says, C is for cookie. That's good enough for me. By the way, there is an AC/DC ABCD high voltage children's book coming out that for every letter of the alphabet, it's some reference to AC/DC, and it's for kids, and it's hilarious. So I wanted to remind you. Bish says full Spinal Tap moment with the plane. 100% it was. My friends and I were actually joking about Spinal Tap last night because of the plane. The tears of her enemies, says producer Mike. See, that's why he's producer Mike, because he's funny. I honestly think the trick is not to use the products made for your face. I actually saw some people on TikTok talking about how they wash their face with Head and Shoulders shampoo. And they said for people that have like chronic skin issues, that it works wonders. And there's this whole like TikTok thread about people that have been on like every medication on the planet and that they're trying Head and Shoulders shampoo, and that's what they wash their face with, and it actually works. I don't know if it works. I'm not a dermatologist, but I think whatever you can get to work for you is what you need to work for you. My whole thing is that I just don't want to look my age ever, and I don't want to have things injected into my face to do it. So just trying not to do that stuff. Let's see. Riding motorcycles is good for the skin, actually. Riding fixes everything, says Eric. I can't argue with that. I would just say wear a helmet, obviously, for obvious reasons. If you have fungal acne, dandruff shampoo can help. See, there you go. Michelle agrees. I didn't know fungal acne was a thing. I guess it is. And that's why people use like stuff like Head and Shoulders, and I guess it works. There's all these people on TikTok about it. I can't tell you the number of things I've learned off of TikTok, like how to clean my like glass cooktop in my kitchen, how to get hard water stains out of porcelain toilets. I've learned so many amazing things on TikTok. It solves all of the world's problems. Okay. Wanted to show you guys this. Speaking of Iron Maiden, a couple things. So first of all, I took this picture last night trying to get as much of the crowd in it as I could. So if you were at Iron Maiden last night, there's a pretty damn good chance that I got you. Now, part of the picture that I cut off, which was like over here, the soundboard was like right here. The end of the arena here, the guy in the red circle, I could not tell who you were. I hope you're in the war room, but I was with the people from Latini Creative Solutions last night at the show, and from across the arena, they sported, if you look really closely inside the red circle, someone wearing a Cocktails in the War Room t-shirt from across the arena. I don't know who it was. I couldn't see far enough to be able to see it, but we looked across the arena, saw someone in a War Room t-shirt, and I took the best picture that I could. And I think it's one of the first times that they saw someone wearing the shirt out in public. And because they designed it, it was really cool. So if that was you last night, that was really fucking awesome. So thank you for doing that. Let's see. Jen says, I'll be 50 in January, started seeing grays, never dyed my hair. Some people go gray in their 20s. I have a few friends, guy friends, that started going gray in their 20s. Now they're in like their early 40s and they're completely gray. Completely gray. Other people don't start going gray. Like my husband, he's not gray. He's in his 40s, doesn't really have any gray hair at all. I, of course, have purple hair, so I wouldn't know anything about that. The stage looks gorgeous. The stage was freaking huge. It was unbelievable. And if you've ever seen, or if you've never seen Iron Maiden, they'll play 2 to 3 songs and then like they take like 30 seconds or sometimes 45 seconds and they play sound effects and they shut the lights down. And then when the lights come back up, the stage is completely different. But they had like some amazing like stained glass artwork and stuff on the stage, which was just really, really cool. So if you have not seen Iron Maiden, this was a conversation that I had with some of my friends last night because it was a rainy Monday night. And I was like, you know what? Some of these bands that we all know and love, make a list of the bands that you've never seen because some of these bands are getting older and we're running out of time to see these bands. And so if you really love an artist, go and see them. And if you love them a ton and you've already seen them, go and see them again and support them. There's so many artists that are still feeling the effects of not being able to tour for a couple years. And just do what you can to go and see the artists that you love, especially the artists that are older, that are kind of on your bucket list of bands to see live. So Sean says, I'm like 48 and have about 3 gray hairs. Yeah, well, you're lucky, Sean. All right, let's recap last week's podcast episode. We did something a little different last week. We talked to an author and Army veteran. His name is Brett Allen. He wrote this book right here called Kilroy Was Here. It's a novel, a work of fiction based on his 2009 deployment to Afghanistan. And it was a suggestion by John Hill, who was on episode 4 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. And so I really loved the idea of talking to Brett about his experience in deployment overseas, but his writing process and the fact that he is now working on another book and working on another manuscript. And I just thought it was a really cool idea that rather than just write a book about his deployment, and he even said it in the podcast episode, there are a lot of stories about people in the military whose jobs aren't as exciting as the SEALs, as the Rangers, as the, Delta operators, but that all did play their part and play their role and contribute. And a lot of those stories, both the good, the bad, the funny, the ridiculous, there was a lot of that in there as well that he kind of experienced. And so he changed names, changed up stories a little bit. And rather than just make a book about himself, he actually created a work of fiction instead. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And I know he was super excited to be on the show and has messaged me since the episode came out last week. Super grateful for the feedback he's been getting on his website and on social media. He also was talking about how he can see book sales and how the book is starting to sell. So for any veterans that want to support veteran initiatives, veteran-owned businesses, here is another way that you can support a fellow veteran in a creative way, which is something we talked about in the podcast that has become part of his daily life. And I think for a lot of veterans that are searching for something to eat up the time at night when they can't sleep, to do something that maybe doesn't include alcohol, something that could be just a creative outlet to be able to get the stories out of your head and even on paper, even if it's not something that you ever want to let anyone else read. The way he describes his daily routine of sitting down and forcing himself to write like 500 words a day, you can just open a Word document, and down at the bottom, it keeps track of how many words you've written. And so you could just start writing about anything, about keeping a diary, just starting to recall stories of your deployment, starting to tell funny stories or just meaningful stories, powerful stories, maybe about some of your brothers and sisters in arms that weren't able to make it back, memories, things that you don't want to forget. I thought it was a really interesting exercise and something that I have thought about trying to maybe start myself, just as kind of a meditative thing to just be creative for the sake of being creative. When we talk to a lot of the musicians that are on the show, they always talk about just the noodling of the guitar, just sitting down with a guitar and just rolling tape to see what comes out and to kind of just get in tune with their instrument. And they record it because it's like a stream of consciousness kind of thing. And so I thought it would be really interesting to kind of try that on my own. So if you guys try it, Penny says writing is a great form of therapy. Exactly. And I think he's a perfect example of it, where I don't think he went into anything specifically planning. It just kind of happened that way, that as he began to write, he began to realize that it started to flow out of him a little easier. I think just with any exercise, I think with any new habit, it's difficult in the beginning. I ask people all the time. I asked him in the podcast, staring at a blank page, how did you start? And to me, that seems like the most daunting thing. I remember when I started running, years before I decided to run the marathon, I couldn't run to the stop sign on my street. And so what I did, and it worked really well for me, was I went into my neighborhood and I ran from one mailbox to the next, and then walked to the next mailbox, and then ran to the next mailbox, even if it was 50 feet. Walk, run, mailbox to mailbox to mailbox. And then what I started noticing is that I could run 2 mailboxes, walk a mailbox, 2 mailboxes, walk a mailbox. Then it was 3 mailboxes and then walk. And then I got to the point where I could get through my neighborhood without walking at all. And so I think starting any kind of new habit, starting to journal. Mark says, I want to start journaling. I think it's one of those things. I think maybe going to Staples or going online and ordering like a nice journal so you feel guilty of spending the money if you don't use it. And then just make the goal of typing 500 words in the computer if you're not someone that wants to write. If you are someone that wants to write, fill the page with whatever. Even if it's how aggravated you are that you don't have anything to write about, just to get it moving. Start your day by making your bed. No matter how bad it is, at least you did something positive. There's a very famous speech from an admiral that he gave at a commencement about that. And that you at least started your day off checking one thing off of your to-do list and then going to bed at night and having your bed made. I am terrible about making my bed. Ask my husband. Let's see. So bummed. Okay, you guys are having a conversation about somebody, the last show at the Garden. I missed out on some of the conversation you guys are having about what artist you guys are talking about. Barbara says, do it. I write all the time. It's amazing how much you can learn about yourself. Just write. Dump whatever's in your brain. It doesn't need to be cohesive. Pretty cool. So if you haven't checked out episode 123 of the Mistress Carrie podcast, featuring U.S. Army veteran and author Brett Allen, and his book, Kilroy Was Here, is available everywhere, including on Amazon and all of that. Michelle says, I have plenty of blank journals, she says. Oh, you were talking about Tom Petty. Gotcha. Should I have another beer? Sure. Why not? We were talking about Tom Petty. Tom Petty Day happened over the weekend at the University of Florida. the football game at the Swamp at halftime. The band came out, did a big tribute to Tom Petty. There's amazing video that I retweeted of the crowd at the University of Florida LSU game singing "I Won't Back Down," like 75,000 people in unison, which was really cool. Mark says, you can't make the bed when someone is always in it. True. I use journaling to work through some of my past, and it helped to see some things in a different perspective. It actually helped a lot. There you go. Michael, we'll talk about Ivan Moody coming up in rock news. I got a little conversation planned about that, but I want to tell you guys who's going to be on the podcast this week. This is one of those bucket list interviews that I could not wait to do. Super excited. Episode 124 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, and it features the Whip, Michael Wilton from Queensryche. If you are a fan of Queensryche, if you love guitar, if you're into prog rock at all, he is an absolute shredder. And Queensryche just came out with a new album. And this interview was just a couple days before they were in Boston with Judas Priest. It was actually during the day of the first date of the tour. And he actually did the interview on Zoom on his cell phone. And he was just, some people when they're on the phone and they're talking, they have to pace. And so he was pacing around the backstage area of the venue, having this conversation with me, which was kind of hilarious. The new album, Digital Noise Alliance, is available everywhere. And I talked to Michael Wilton about everything, how he started playing guitar, his influences, where he got the nickname The Whip, being inspired by Judas Priest growing up, and then being on tour with Judas Priest right now. We talked a lot about Eddie Van Halen because he was extremely inspired by Eddie Van Halen. I did work the question in about Queensryche reuniting with the original lineup, so you'll have to listen to the episode to hear that answer. I also wanted an apology from him because I don't know if I told you guys this story before, but when I was just about to turn 16, my parents had gone out of town and left me and my sister in the care of one of my mom's sisters and my grandfather. And my sister's like 4.5 years younger than me. And I had gotten permission to go see Def Leppard and Queensryche at the DCU Center, which was back then the Centrum, with a bunch of my friends. And they played 2 nights at the Centrum. I went to the first night. The show was incredible. It was right in the middle of all of the Operation Mindcrime stuff. The show was just amazing. It was in the round. It was when Hysteria came out. And all of my friends were like, we need to go again. We're going back tomorrow night. We're going to get scalp tickets and we're going. And I was like, I don't know if I can go. And they were like, come on, you got to come with us. So I went home, wrote a note to my aunt saying, please don't tell my parents, but I went to the show with my friends again. I'll be home after the show. Don't worry about me. I'll be fine. I'm with the same people I was with last night. Long before the age of cell phones and all that stuff. Well, anyway, my grandfather showed up at the house, saw the note, was none too pleased. My parents called to check in. My grandfather read the note to them, and basically my parents came home and I got grounded. And because it was right before my 16th birthday, they had planned a big elaborate 16th birthday party for me, which they promptly canceled because I was grounded. So I never had a 16th birthday party because of Queensryche. And so I talked to Michael Wilton about that story as well. Oh, drink. Drew McIntyre is still on the screen. Shit. Social. For anybody new to the War Room, when there's a typo on the screen, you have to drink. So the interview is pretty hilarious. There's definitely some nerdy guitar stuff in there. But we talked a little bit about everything, about touring, about songwriting inspiration, about where his riff inspiration comes from, talking about guitar tone. We talked about truck stop shopping. It's a little bit of everything. So if you're a Queensryche fan like I am, episode 124 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight. And If you subscribe to the podcast, not only are you getting the weekly episodes, not only do you get the bonus episodes, but you also get the sit rep, which I put together every night. And it features all of the most up-to-date rock news, music headlines, movie headlines. There's a lot of technology news in there. Just a lot of music industry stuff that's going on. And you get the sit rep. It's 5 minutes and it's Monday through Friday. And just a reminder, not only can you listen to every episode of the podcast, bonus episodes, sit reps, after action reports from the War Room, all of it, basically anywhere you listen to podcasts, but also at mistresscarrie.com. So if you don't even use podcast apps, you can just find the episode you want on my website, click the player, listen to whatever you want. But the Mistress Carrie podcast is basically available everywhere you listen to podcasts. So whatever podcast app, whatever platform, however you like to listen to podcasts, just search Mistress Carrie, find this artwork, and then you're in the right spot. So, and these are all linked at mistresscarrie.com as well. So there you go. So I promised you guys that we would go over podcast locations. We're still holding strong at 130 countries, but I wanted to run down the top 10 countries. Normally I give you guys a top 5. The top 5 have been pretty stagnant. They stayed in the same order. 6 through 10 shuffle around a lot. So obviously the number one country listening to the podcast is the United States, followed by Canada, the UK, Russia, and Singapore. That's the top 5. Then there's Australia, France, Germany, Brazil, and Portugal. So there you go. And I think especially when I have guests that are more on the heavy metal side, definitely in Brazil and Portugal, even Germany as well. South America and Europe, just massive metal fans. And I can always tell when it's a metal episode because listening in different parts of the world always kicks up, which is kind of hilarious. So there's the top 10 of the top 10 countries listening to the podcast. All right, let's go through some music news. The Trinity of Terror tour is rolling into the Songus on November 17th, featuring Ice Nine Kills, Motionless in White, and Black Veil Brides. And congratulations to Motionless in White. This week, they had their first number one song. So all 3 of these bands have already been on the podcast. And I tell you guys, when bands that you may or may not have heard of before come on the podcast, I say, watch out for these guys or these girls because you're going to be hearing a lot from them. Motionless in White just had their first number one song this week, which is huge. And it's partially because of you guys. So thank you for always being so open and giving these bands a chance. You guys are making a huge difference, and word is getting out that even if you don't know who the band is, even if you do or don't like their music per se, the interviews, you can always find something to relate to, even if it's an artist that maybe you don't like that style of music or you didn't think you would like that style of music. There, you can usually find something, especially when they start talking about their inspiration and the artist that they grew up listening to that inspired the music they make. And then you go back and listen to their music again and you can hear the little bits of the influences. And sometimes it opens your ears up to bands that you might not have known that you would like. Blink-182, the massive reunion tour went on sale yesterday. Tickets sold out in like 5 seconds. Scalpers are going crazy for tickets. It's just insane. They're playing March 21st at the TD Garden. They're also playing a bunch of massive festivals as well, including the When We Were Young Festival in Vegas next October. That festival sold out in like 5 minutes. It's Green Day, Offspring, Blink-182. Don't forget, Record Store Day is coming up on Black Friday. A lot of artists are releasing stuff on vinyl, including the new Queensryche album. You can get it on vinyl. So that's coming up fast. Bono has his book coming out on November 1st. It's called Surrender, and he's doing book readings all around the world. And the second book reading he's doing is November 4th at the Orpheum. Now, tickets are on sale for this. I'm going to warn you that they're pricey because, well, it's Bono. There's 2 book readings in the United States, one in New York, and then the second date is Boston. The book comes out on November 1st, And so if you have a diehard U2 fan, or if you're a diehard U2 fan, this is added on the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com, but the tickets are pricey. I'm just warning you. Saw some of the guys from the Dropkick Murphys at Iron Maiden last night. They already have their show scheduled for St. Patrick's Day, March 17th and 18th at the MGM Music Hall at Fenway, and then March 19th across Lansdowne Street at the House of Blues. And all of these tickets are on sale, and all the dates are added to the event calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Let's see. Joe Satriani, speaking of the Orpheum, is going to be there on November 5th. The new Disturbed album coming out November 18th, and it's called Divisive. I can't wait to hear the duet between David Draymond and Ann Wilson from Heart. Like, her voice is so powerful, but his voice is so aggressive that I can't wait to hear how they kind of blend them together. Godsmack's new album, Lighting Up the Sky, is coming out in February, and they just played their first single, Surrender, live for the first time. The band is on tour in Europe, and when I saw them on the last date of the North American tour in Vegas, they did not play it. So I guess they're working the kinks out in Europe, but we're just going to have to wait to find out. The Retaliators movie that was featured on 2 different episodes of the Mistress Carrie podcast. There was the original episode that had Zoltan Bathory from Five Finger Death Punch and Jacoby Shaddix from Papa Roach. And then there was the bonus episode that had The Who in it, Michael Lombardi, who stars in the film. The Retaliators is coming to video on demand on October 21st. And you're going to be able to get it anywhere. So anywhere that you get video on demand stuff, Apple, Xfinity, Verizon, all of the video on demand outlets, the Retaliators is going to be out on October 21st. And I wanted to talk to you guys about the new Queen song. Face It Alone is coming out on a new box set commemorating the album The Miracle that was released in 1989. And Face It Alone is a song that was in the vaults that never got finished. Freddie Mercury sang on it. It came out last week on Thursday, and it's kind of a ballady song, and it's very kind of sad. And especially knowing where Freddie Mercury was in his illness, the words are incredibly powerful. And when I heard the song the first time, it was like a gut punch to me because it's so emotional. And I was taken aback by how emotional I got listening to the song. I talked about the song in the James Labrie episode of the podcast. I believe that was episode 119. James Labrie from Dream Theater. He and I talked extensively about Queen. Celtics are up by 8, said Kevin. You know too much, Mistress Carrie. Wait, I know too much. What are you talking about? I believe it is coming to Amazon Prime as well, Shannon. Yes. Jessica, don't get ahead. I'll talk about Ivan Moody. Hold on. It's coming up. Trust me, I'm not going to leave that story out this week. If you haven't heard the new Queen song, definitely check it out. I want to know what you think about it. I had a visceral and unbelievably emotional response to it, and I was curious if you guys had the same. All right, continuing on with the music news and some of the stuff. AWOL Nation is going to be at the House of Blues on the 23rd. Lenny Kravitz, if you haven't seen the trailer for Shotgun Wedding, it comes out in the new year. I believe it comes out at the end of January or early February, just in time for Valentine's Day. J-Lo and Josh Duhamel are also in it. Lenny Kravitz, the appearance in the trailer is pretty funny. Aaron Lewis today announced solo shows for next year, including a date at Foxwoods at the Premier Theater on April 22nd. Pre-sale information is getting announced tomorrow on Aaron Lewis's website. And Mike Mushak is also saying that the first Stained album in more than a decade is due to come out at some point next year, which is huge. Speaking of new music, there is a new Filter song called For the Beaten, and they have a new album coming out in early 2023 as well. All right, since you guys wouldn't wait, So Friday night in Denver, Ivan Moody was on stage. And if you've never seen Five Finger Death Punch, Ivan Moody talks a lot in between the songs, cracks a lot of jokes. And he was singing the praises of how much people in Denver have supported Five Finger Death Punch from the very beginning. And he basically said that he has plans to make one more album with Five Finger Death Punch. And then he plans to retire from heavy metal. And that he cited wanting to spend more time with his family as the reason. Now, there's a lot of fan film footage. You can watch it on YouTube and hear exactly what he had to say. But knowing the way that music, especially for Five Finger Death Punch, works, they just released Afterlife. Five Finger Death Punch is going to tour the rest of this year and at the very minimum, all of next year. Then the band might take some time off. And this is just me speculating because I've seen how the band works over the years. Then they'll probably take some time off in 2024. Then they're going to have to write and record and release the new album and then tour on that album. So if you are in a state of panic that Ivan Moody and Five Finger Death Punch are going to be gone before you know it, my prediction is that it's going to take like at least 4 years for that to happen because they've got touring on this record and then writing, recording, and releasing the next record, then touring on that record. Who knows what's going to happen between now and then? But it goes back to what we were talking about with Iron Maiden. Go see the bands you love while you can still go see the bands you love because you never know. So that's all I know about Ivan Moody. I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but they have been so busy and they're out on the road still with Megadeth and there's so much going on. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, Ivan Moody has gone through a lot in his sobriety journey, and he lost a lot of years of his personal life because of his battle with addiction. And I think that his kids are getting older, and I think, like anyone, he wants to make sure that he's around for his kids as much as he can be for as long as he can be. So that's just me speculating based on the little that I know about how in-depth his personal life is and also the things that he said on stage. Want to remind you guys about the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, November 23rd at Mohegan, November 25th at the SNHU Arena, and November 26th at the DCU Center. 2 shows at each one of these dates. There's a matinee and an evening show. All of these are listed at mistresscarrie.com on the event calendar. And if you are a horror and sci-fi fan, you may have missed this announcement. Corey Taylor has acquired Famous Monsters, the fanzine, the brand. Now, Famous Monsters started in, I believe, 1958 and was a magazine that people like Stephen King grew up reading that inspired the Misfits, inspired people like Rob Zombie and Corey Taylor himself and Kirk Hammett and so many other lovers of horror and sci-fi. And the magazine stopped publishing in 1983. And Corey Taylor just bought the rights to it. So not only did he buy the rights to the magazine, but all of the social media rights. And he has plans to not only restart the magazine, but also to put together conventions, to come out with lines of merchandise and toys and novelties. And if anyone is going to take care of the brand Famous Monsters, it's going to be a guy like Corey Taylor because he grew up such a fan of it. Michael Cole says, yeah, that gives Ivan plenty of time to change his mind then. And he might not change his mind, but if he's talking about it, making one more record, they're just gearing up this album cycle. It's going to be a while for Five Finger Death Punch. Michelle says, got to spend some time with the grandbaby today. She is such a cutie pie. I just love that so many babies have come out of the last couple of years and that it's just brought so much joy to people that always wanted to be grandparents, first-time families, just unexpected babies, like whatever it is. That just makes me really happy that you've got so much joy in your life because you get to spend time with your granddaughter. That's very cool. Rob Zombie is amazing, just like his singing. Yeah, exactly. Like Zombie got inspired by all of this stuff growing up, and a lot of it came from Famous Monsters. That was really a place for horror lovers to kind of congregate and not be weird. Tracy says Stephen King is a creepy dude, great guy, nice guy, but creepy. I mean, these ideas come from someplace, right? I don't know too many creatives, too many artists, and I'm talking like the masters of the art world, you know, the Van Goghs, the Picassos. Creatives are all a little bit strange because, like, I give the musical example of a guy like Perry Farrell. And I've said it in the podcast. If you listen to all the episodes, you've heard me say this before. Perry Farrell seems like the kind of guy that looks at the world differently. Like his brain connected to his eyes looks at the world like through a kaleidoscope lens. Like the world looks different to him, which is where his brilliance comes from, which is where ideas like Kind Heaven Orchestra and Lollapalooza and just the way Jane's Addiction was so far out in front of musical trends when they came out. Creatives just look at the world differently. And people in Maine are weird too, which is where he writes his books. So they don't call him maniacs for nothing. His books are really good. Sometimes they don't translate to movies. A lot of times they do, though. I worked for Stephen King at WZON in Bangor about 30 years ago. Yeah, and I'm sure he was weird. But where that weirdness has, I mean, it's brilliance, really. Eric, exactly. If everyone were the same, life would be incredibly boring. Exactly. All right, so that's what's going on with Corey Taylor. I want to remind you guys about some of the new releases that are coming out on Friday. New releases come out every Friday. Aha, True North is coming out on Friday. The new Architects album, I heard this album in its entirety when I was in Vegas. I met Sam, the lead singer, got to listen to the whole record. It's really, really good. I'm working on getting him on the podcast. Symptoms of a Broken Spirit is the name of the new record. It comes out on Friday. The Arctic Monkeys' new album, The Car, comes out. The Poppy EP, Stagger. Serge Tankian's Complex Cities, the EP comes out. Queensryche's Digital Noise Alliance. Oh, no, wait. Hold on. Nope, that's a typo. Skid Row already came out. Digital Noise Alliance came out last week. I talked to Michael Wilton about it. And the Poppy EP, Stagger. These all came out last week. The new ones that came out this week are... Oh, come on. Why won't you move? There we go. The Serge Tankian EP comes out this week. So hold on, let me drink for the fucking typos. There you go. Arctic Monkeys, Architect, Aha, and Serge Tankian all come out on Friday. All right, mail call. I wanted to show you guys this. Wendy sent this in. Well, first of all, I want to show you this. I want to thank, these are some of the bands that played the Battle of the Bands for the Pike at Polar Park with the Woo Sox. So I wanted to thank some of the bands for sending me shirts. On the Rocks, which I love, especially for Cocktails in the War Room. I thought that was fantastic. And also want to thank Between the Waves for sending me shirts, which I love. 2 local bands that were great at the Battle of the Bands. So if you get a chance to go and check them out, On the Rocks and Between the Waves were 2 of the 5 bands that played. I also got this from my husband, who, I don't know if I've talked about this in the past, but my husband and I send each other a lot of mail. My husband, because he travels so much, sends me a lot of postcards. And it's been something that he has always done throughout our relationship, especially because there's distance involved, that he always puts little things in the mail for me. And so I got this week, and I just thought it was really, really sweet. and it is going to be a new addition to the War Room. He framed the picture of Uncle Froggy from Vegas for me. And so I'm going to put this in the War Room. So I thought that was really cool. And I got it from the Hub. So thanks, dear. And then wanted to show you this. Got this from Wendy, who is my age, says, happy 50th. We cannot be this old. Wendy. She sent me two things. She sent me this t-shirt, which is fucking hilarious. From the Purple Store, which so many people have sent me the link to this place, but I should probably get them to sponsor the freaking podcast. But if you have purple freaks on your shopping list, like this place basically sells everything purple. So she sent this. And then for Halloween, the new purple M&Ms. What? I haven't opened it yet, but I love that it's in the shape of a jack-o'-lantern with black M&Ms too. So thank you, Wendy. And thanks to the bands, and obviously to the Hubs for the new addition to the War Room, which it makes me so happy that I have an updated photo. I'm still trying to dig up a photo of me and Uncle Frog from when I was a little kid, but having this photo just makes me really happy. So super excited about that. So that's Mail Call this week. Also wanted to let you guys know about this. Obviously, the Mistress Carrie online store. Cold weather's coming. The beanies, the hoodies, they're all on the website. And then also Joe's albums in Worcester, right on Main Street. You can get Mistress Carrie merch there. And also, especially if you go on Record Store Day, there is a rack in there with this sign that says Mistress Carrie recommends. And so we're always putting new releases and really cool old reissues. Sometimes they're like original albums that are worth money. But the Mistress Carrie rack at Joe's Albums is, it's called Mistress Carrie Recommends, and you can find it at Joe's Albums in Worcester on Main Street, which I thought was really cool. So if you're going to be shopping for vinyl, especially if you're going out for Record Store Day, Joe's Albums is a great place to go on Record Store Day, and you'll be able to find the Mistress Carrie Recommends rack there. All right, if today's your birthday, you are sharing your birthday on October 18th with Neo, also Keith Knudsen from the Doobie Brothers, Gary Richrath from REO Speedwagon, and Joe Egan from Steelers Wheel are all born on this date. So if today's your birthday, cheers to you. And of course, as always, happy unbirthday, Keith. If you're new to the War Room and you don't understand the reference, go to the glossary, the dictionary in the Mistress Carrie blog, and it'll be there. The explanations. Bish says, share them with the class. They're all taped up. Are you talking about the M&Ms? I'm going to try and open these. I just have this awful feeling. Yeah, these things are like, you know those annoying people that scotch tape the hell out of a gift to watch you struggle to open it on Christmas? That's how these M&Ms are taped up. I'm going to need an implement or something really sharp. Let's see. Go check out Mistress Carrie's rack, says Michael. There you go. All right. And I want to let everybody know that as a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, that we are going to get together this Sunday night at 7. So every month, we do an exclusive live stream, and we're going to get together at 7 o'clock on Sunday night. I'll be able to fill you in more on everything that's been going on behind the scenes. The Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, you can get it on Patreon. I'm also going to fill you in on a bunch of the interviews that I've got lined up before the end of the year because the calendar's getting full. I'm starting to run out of like weekly episode spots, and there's some great interviews coming up. So we'll go over all of that stuff on Sunday night. You can also submit questions for all of those interviews, travel blog updates, early access to event tickets, which I'm hoping we're going to be able to tackle in 2023. Damn it. The Alice in Chains, Breaking Benjamin, and Bush tickets, those obviously are gone because the show already happened. However, the I Prevail show at the MGM Music Hall is coming up in November, and I believe those tickets are sold out. But if you have a Mistress Carrie Backstage Pass, I do have access to some of those tickets for that show. So if you want to go, let me know. You know how to do it. And if you don't have a Backstage Pass, click the Patreon link at mistresscarrie.com. There's actually a button right on the front page to get a Backstage Pass, or just go to patreon.com/mistresscarrie and you can get it. And then as a reminder, here's all the different places that you can track me down online. YouTube is getting ready in the next few weeks to launch YouTube handles, which are going to make it easier for YouTube creators to personalize their pages and for people that are looking for creators to be able to find them. So there's some changes coming to YouTube, which is going to be interesting. So there you go. All right, guys, that's it for this week. Episode 205 of Cocktails in the War Room. Episode 124 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live at midnight tonight, featuring the whip, the one and only Michael Wilton from Queensryche. So if you haven't listened to Operation Mindcrime in a while, yes. Digital Noise Alliance is the new album that is available everywhere. All right, guys, I will see you guys next week. Go Seas, go Bees, Red Sox. Better luck next year. Can I say?